There are a lot of reptile YouTube channels out there, some very professional, others a bit rougher and readier, but still highly watchable. Today I'd like to talk to you about my top 5 favourite reptile YouTube channels and why I now find it impossible to watch my favourite one. Number 5 is Wickens Wicked Reptiles. If you're watching this, you're almost certainly familiar with Adam's channel, in which he talks about all kinds of different reptile species and shows really nice footage. There's a lot of energy, it's well filmed, and it's a top watch. At number 4 we've got Snake Discovery, which by subscriber count is one of the biggest reptile channels there is. It's presented by wife and husband duo Emily and Ed, who are both charming and knowledgeable, plus they have their own zoo and no shortage of beautiful animals to talk about. It's very entertaining. Number 3 is Green Room Pythons, hosted by actor and comedian Bob Bledsoe, who provides practical advice for snake keepers and is very funny. As a viewer, you get to know his animals individually, which is really nice. I decided to leave the number 2 spot blank because I couldn't think of a channel I enjoyed watching more than the 2 I've already mentioned, but a bit less than the one that I've put at the number 1 spot. Then why not make it a top 4, you ask? But who ever heard of a top 4 of anything? Ask Adam Wickens, it just can't be done. In fact, the positions so far are pretty meaningless because I watch all of those channels and I enjoy them equally. Here comes number 1. Snake Therapy with Shira Lower. That's my favourite channel. And I'll go as far as to say it's the best one, because Shira places animal welfare front and centre, and her whole thing is raising awareness about how best to keep our snakes. To be clear, the other people on the list also care about their animals, but Shira thinks harder and digs deeper. However, as I mentioned, I can't watch her channel anymore, and here's why. I first had snakes about 4.5 decades ago, when I was 20. I had 2 Indian rock pythons, 2 sand boas, and a corn snake, and my husbandry was terrible. Then I didn't have any for a long time. A few years ago, when I decided to get a snake again, I wanted to do everything right, which I thought would mean reading about reptile husbandry online, watching a few videos, and talking to people who had experience, which I did. But soon after we got our Hog Island boa, Lulu, I realised that it wasn't as simple as all that. I started having serious doubts about our setup, and I had a lot of questions that I couldn't find answers to, primarily because there are so many different and conflicting opinions out there. I'm talking about lighting and heating and stuff like that, by the way. Eventually we got things more or less how we wanted them, and although I didn't entirely stop worrying, I did calm down quite a bit. And then, some months ago, Shira Lower published a video called The Practical Guide to Heat and Light for Reptiles and Why Deep Heat Projectors Are Trash. I watched it and it sent me into a spin. In the video, she presents a well-researched argument for getting rid of deep heat projectors altogether, and she presents a comprehensive guide to providing the perfect heating and lighting setup for your snakes. Ow. Of course, what she says is the complete opposite of what a lot of other snake keepers say, but the difference is she's looked into the science of it. She isn't just quoting what some other reptile YouTuber has said or saying that her way's the right way because it's always worked for her. And of course what I should do, rather than just taking her word for it, is I should try to understand the science myself. But I hate science. I haven't got anything against science as such, I just find it really boring. And this isn't usually a problem because there are plenty of people out there who love science, who are happy to design the high-speed trains and the spaceships and make the toothpaste and the medicines, and they're fine with me staying out of the way and letting them get on with it. Plus, if you want to get a dog or have a baby, you don't have to do a PhD on dogs or babies. Lots of other people have done research and you can just read what they've written or watch some YouTube videos, and you'll probably find broad consensus about most things, so you can trust what you're reading or watching. But you can't trust everything you hear about reptile keeping because people say such wildly different things. Plus, dogs and babies are pretty good at letting you know if they're unhappy about something, whereas snakes are more inclined to suffer in silence. Like, for example, if your snake would like some UVB or would prefer you to switch from underfloor heating to overhead heating. They won't tell you. To create the best, most natural environment for your snakes, you need to do more than just lean on other people's research. You need to be able to make your own decisions. And to make good decisions, you need to understand the science. And I don't understand the science. Those diagrams that represent infrared radiation as a wiggly line, they're so abstract to me, they just mean nothing. For me to understand how heating and lighting works, I would literally have to take a college course, which I'm not going to do. And even if I did, I probably wouldn't get it, just like I didn't get it when I was at school. And rather than doing something practical and useful about it to upgrade our husbandry, I just worry about it all the time. And not just about heating and lighting, but about every aspect of life for an animal that should be living in a forest and is actually living in a box not much longer than their own body. How can we create an environment that our animal deserves? I ask myself. And I always come up with the same answer, which is that we can't really, for which reason we probably shouldn't be keeping them in captivity at all. But we've already got our snakes, and if you're watching this, you might have snakes too. So we have to do the best with what we've got. We've established that I'm not going to go back to school to learn about heating and lighting, and the next best thing would be to take advice from the person I trust the most. And if we're talking about reptile YouTubers, that person is Shearer Lower. But we don't have the money right now to get everything that Shearer says we need. We've just ordered a big vivarium for Sunny here, which should be arriving in a couple of days. And we've decided it's going to be fully bioactive, which means it's going to have lots of live plants and it's going to have lots of little animals to help us keep the place clean. That's more for our benefit really than Sunny's, I suppose. But it's going to be heated with halogen bulbs during the day and ceramic heat emitters during the night, and there's going to be UVB and LED, all as recommended by Shearer Lower. In due course, we'll get big vivs for Lulu and Carney too, and they'll be heated and lit in the same way. It's going to take a few months because we need to make the money to pay for all that, and once we've got the vivs and the heating and the lighting sorted out, I know there'll be something else, but we'll continue to make improvements. And even though I know there's a risk that I'll hear something that will make me further question my husbandry and will ultimately cost us money, I will of course continue to watch Shearer's videos. But I'll probably watch them from behind the sofa through my fingers, like how I used to watch Doctor Who when it was a Daleks episode.